السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. For this session, we will start with the respiratory system. So, in this session, we will start with the structure of the respiratory system. The objectives that we will cover in this system will name the organs, formulate the respiratory system, and which is starting from nasal cavity until it reaches the alveoli. Then describe the protective mechanism of the respiratory system. What are the protection within it? Define the cellular respiration and external respiration, internal respiration, and gas exchange. Describe the mechanism of breathing. Then describe respiratory volume and capacities. List the non-respiratory air movement and respiratory sound. Describe the process of gas exchanges in the lung and tissues. Describe how oxygen and carbon dioxide transport in the blood, and explain the natural regulation and non-neural function of the influencing the respiration. So those are the objectives for the whole unit. Now we will start with the structure, so we will cover the first two objectives in this session. So if we are taking the respiratory system, mainly the overseas gas exchange between the blood and the external surrounding. So it is the function of the main function of the respiratory system is to take air inside, and it will be exchanged between carbon dioxide and oxygen inside the lung, inside the alveoli, in order to be circulated inside the body for the process of metabolism and production of energy. So this is the link between the respiratory system and the circulatory system. And also it is needed, it is the gas exchange, it is important for the energy production. So the food that we are taking, the nutrient that it is absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract, it will be circulating also in the blood, it will go to the tissues, and inside the tissues it need the metabolism. Yes.
Stop, please.
So it needs the oxygen for the process of it. So exchange of gases, it takes place within the lung and the alveoli. The pathway of the lung during its pathway, the pathway of air, it will be purified, and also it will get warm and before it reach the lung, and also it will get a humidity in order not to cause irritation and cause dryness of the mucous membrane. So, starting from the organs of respiratory system, the organs of respiratory system, it starts from where? So it starts from the nose, which is the only obvious part of the respiratory system in our body. So it is only the external obvious part of the respiratory system that we can see. So the nose. The nose consists from two nostrils, two opening is there, and then we have the nasal cavity. This is the oral cavity. Sometimes we we might breathe from our mouth if there is a problem with the respiratory with the nose and nostrils. Then the air, it will go to the pharynx, larynx, then to the trachea. From the trachea, we have the right and left bronchi. From the right and left bronchi, they are then entering inside the lungs, and there will be bronchioles, and until it reach the alveoli. How many lungs do we have in our body? Two. So 2 lungs are there, the right and left lung, which is slightly larger than the other right side. So the right side, why the little right side is slightly larger?
Because left is
Because the heart, mainly it is toward the left side. See here the space of the heart, it is in the middle mostly, but it is the bits of the heart, it is going toward the left side more. So the lungs, the 2 lungs are there. The heart is in between them, and also the blood, as we said, the circulation, the pulmonary circulation is going toward the lungs. Gas exchanges will be there, then the oxygenated blood, it will return back to the heart. If we are taking the right side of, or the right lung, it is consists of 3 loops. The left side, it is consists of 2 loops. So it is divided, the right side, it's divided to 3 partition or 3 loops. The left side, it is, which is the smallest, it is divided to 2 loops. You see here, the trachea is coming behind the great blood vessels. This is the aorta. This is the arch of the ascending aorta. This is the arch, and those are the artery. That's carotid artery. And here the vena cava superior and vena cava inferior. From downward, also under the lungs, we have what we call this. Sorry? Diaphragm. So the diaphragm is there. The diaphragm is separating the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So the diaphragm is separating the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity, and it has also some role in the respiration. We will come to that later when we will take the physiology of breathing and how inhalation and exhalation are performed in our body. So this is the diaphragm, and this is the right lung, and this is the left lung. So the structure starting from the nose, then pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, then the lung. Inside the lung also there are bronchioles and the alveoli. If we come to the first part, which is the nose. In the nose, as we said, it is the only external portion or part of the respiratory system which can be seen from the respiratory system. The air will enter through the nose, through the external nostrils. So, or nares, we have two nostrils are there, so the air is entering from the two nostrils. The interior of the nose also consists of nasal cavity, which is divided by nasal septum. The nasal septum, it is the separation between the right side and the left side of the nose. So the separation between the two canals that the air is going through them. It is called the nasal septum. Importance of nasal septum, sometimes there might be, you might hear that some of the patient is having deviated septum. It means that the septum is going toward one side. So in this case, one nostril, or it will be smaller. And those people, if it is severe deviation, they might complain of recurrent infection of that side, and they might be in need for a surgical operation. So the nose, in the nose we have lateral wall, which is consists of, which is covered by mucus projection, which called the conchi. Those side, it is called conchi. It increases those projection and that wavy formation. It increases the surface area of the mucosa. So the surface area of the mucosa, it will be increased. The mucous membrane produce also mucus. What's the function of the mucus in the nasal cavity and respiratory system? If you remember, we discussed it in the lymphatic system. The function of the mucus in our body. What's the function of the mucus? It is, yes, it's sticky. This is the characteristic of it. It's sticky. So, what it will do? It will
Microbes.
It will be filtered. It will catch, trap the microorganism. Not only microorganism, even dust and any foreign material that might enter in our respiratory system. So it will be trapped there, and then the cilia will move those mucus outside, and it might be either coughed out, or it will go with a mucus secretion, or it might be swallowed and digested by the gastric juices, and the microorganism will be killed by the gastric juice. The cilia, which is those cilia, they will sweep out and move the contaminated mucus toward the pharynx or the throat, where it is either swallowed and digested by the stomach. So again, this is the nasal cavity. Now we will come to separation, the thing that separates the nasal cavity from the oral cavity. So the oral cavity is separated from the nasal cavity by the hard and soft palate. The hard and soft palate, which is coming up between the mouth and the nose. The hard palate, it is formed of bone. So it is formed of bone. The soft palate, it is from muscular tissues. So the nose and the mouth are separated from each other by the hard and soft palate that separate them from each other. The posterior is soft as it is muscular layer. Then after we have the pharynx, which is the throat. The muscular pathway of nasal cavity to the larynx. So the pharynx, it is the muscular pathway of respiratory system to the larynx. So this is the larynx, this is this part, we call it the larynx. It is consists of three parts. So the pharynx or throat, this is again anatomy of the pharynx. This is the nasal part starting from the nose. This is the nose. This is the hard palate. This is the soft palate. In the larynx we have, or the pharynx, we have this part. We call it the nasopharynx. Nasopharynx, which is between the nose and the pharynx, at the side of the nose, at the level of the nose, and here downward, we call it the oropharynx. Oropharynx, because it is going toward its connection between the mouth and the pharynx and the respiratory system, and the end of it, which is the laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx. So the pharynx, it is divided to three parts. The upper part of it, it is called nasopharynx, which is at the level of the nose and connected directly with the nose. The middle part, oropharynx, it is at the level of the mouth and it is connected with nasopharynx and the mouth. The laryngopharynx, which is the last part of the pharynx, it is the connection between, it is at the level of the pharynx and in this case the laryngopharynx at the larynx, it is connection between the larynx and the oropharynx. Then after that we have here the larynx is there. Here at the end of the tongue we have one part which is the epiglottis. The epiglottis, the importance of it that during eating it will lead to closure of the respiratory system, the respiratory canal. What's the purpose of that? Because when it is closed, it means that none of the food that we are taking, it can pass toward the respiratory system. Because if food is passing through the respiratory system, it will lead to, it will be fermented there, and usually it will be, there is a reflex in our body. So if by sometime we are laughing or during eating, sometime what will happen? Sometimes small pieces that might go inside. In this case, you will start coughing and sneezing in order to clear it out. But if it is not cleared out, those small pieces, it will lead to infection. So the three regions of the pharynx, as we said, we have the nasopharynx, which is the upper region or superior region behind the nasal cavity. Then we have the oropharynx, which is the middle region of the pharynx, and it is behind the mouth, at the level of the mouth. The laryngopharynx, which is the inferior part attached to the larynx, which is the end of that. The larynx, which is called also the voice box, because it contains the vocal cord that will vibrate in order to produce voice. So it is the root, air, and food enter in its proper channel. So the larynx, it is the way between the esophagus and also respiratory system and the trachea. So it will close the respiratory pathway when we are swallowing. So play a role in speech because it has the vocal cord, and also made of rigid hyaline cartilage. So it is formed from cartilage and what we call it the spoon-shaped flap of elastic cartilage that we call it the epiglottis. The epiglottis, it is the part that will close the respiratory canal when we swallow. The largest of hyaline cartilage, it is like a shield. Here there is a large cartilage which shape also the thyroid cartilage, or what we call it the Adam apples. This part, it is like a shield. It is cartilage. It is from the larynx. So this is the part of the larynx that it contains the vocal cord, and it contains also the epiglottis is there within it, that it will close the air passage and the pathway of air when we are taking our food, when we are swallowing. So this is the epiglottis. It is behind the tongue. This is the tongue. So it is behind the tongue. And this is the thyroid cartilage that we can see as Adam apple, this side here. It is more prominent in male rather than female. In female, it is smaller. What's the importance of the epiglottis, as we said? What's the importance of the epiglottis? And the importance of the epiglottis. I can't hear you. To eat? So we are eating by the epiglottis?
No, it's help to it.
You can
Help the food to go.
it will prevent the food from going to the airway. Yes, thank you. So it is not helping to eat. It is during swallowing, it prevents the food from going to the lung, going to the trachea. So it will close the larynx. So it is called guardian of the airway. Guardian, so it will protect the airway. So the epiglottis is located behind the tongue at the top of the larynx, And the main function of epiglottis is to seal the windpipe or the trachea during eating. So it will seal it, it will close it, so the food is not accidentally inhaled into the lung. The food, it will not go to the lung. So the epiglottis close when we are swallowing. As we said, if any thing other than the air are entering the larynx, coughing reflex will trigger and expel out that portion or portion. Immediately you will start coughing, and this will get, by coughing you will get those pieces out of your respiratory system. So this is the epiglottis. Then after the larynx, we have the trachea. This is the trachea. The trachea, it is extend from the larynx, the base of the larynx, and branches into two primary, then it will branch to two right and left bronchi. So this is the trachea. Then after that it will be divided to two portions. Those portions we call it the right and left bronchi. It is lined with ciliated mucosa. That type of mucosa also, the purpose of it for, what's the purpose of the mucosal membrane and mucosa secretion? Trap microbes and trap dust, and the cilia will move it up in order to get rid of it and preventing it from accumulation and causing infection. So cilia beat continuously in the opposite direction of the incoming air, so they are moving always, and they are removing all anything that's coming with air, either dust or bacteria or whatever is it. The cilious web divert and trap in mucus toward the pharynx, where it will be swallowed and digested. So it will go back to the digestive system, or it will be coughed up. So both, either if it is small amount, it will be swallowed to the digestive system, and then anything in it, it will be destroyed by the gastric juices, or it will be coughed up. Then we have the right and left bronchus, as we said. The right and left main bronchi are formed by division of the trachea. The trachea and the bronchi, they are formed from a circle of cartilage. It is cartilaginous part. C-shaped cartilage is there in the trachea, and here a circle of cartilage, and in between there is a muscular layer. Each main bronchi enter into the lung. They are entering in the lung. As they are reaching bronchi, so when the air is reaching the bronchi, it will get warm and free from the most inverts or most of any other thing. So it will be filtered and it will be also warm by through while it is passing through the upper respiratory tract. The bronchi also it's subdivided, then it will be subdivided into smaller bronchus in the lungs, lead into the air sacs, which is, we call it the air sac, it's called the alveoli, which form this division, it will form the bronchial tree. So it is like branches of tree. Then at the end of the branches, instead of the leaves, there is alveoli. So this is the bronchial tree, how it is divided. So starting from the trachea, then the right and left bronchi, then the bronchioles, secondary bronchioles, then it will go toward the alveoli. The terminal bronchioles will be there, and at them we have the respiratory bronchioles and the alveolar duct. Here the alveolar duct and alveoli and alveolar sac, which is the end part at the end of the each branch of the small bronchioles or alveolar ducts. Actually, the exchange of air, it occurs inside the exchange of gases between the external air and the blood vessels. It occurs here in the alveoli. So the alveoli is the functional unit of the respiratory system. So what is the functional unit of the respiratory system? What's the functional unit of the respiratory system? It is? Huh? It is the alveoli. The alveoli is the functional unit. So it is the function, it is happened inside the main function, it is happened in the alveoli. We will come then to the structure of the alveoli, how it is formed, and how the exchange of gases will happen there in the alveoli. So it is at the end of those small bronchioles, there is, which is the alveoli is. So it is the conduction system here. So it is from the nose until the bronchioles. It is just the function of it. It is conduct air from the outside to the lung until it reaches the lung. Then here the respiratory part, which contain the small bronchioles and the alveoli. So it is called the respiratory part. So this is the trachea, right and left primary bronchi are there. Then secondary and tertiary bronchi. So the respiratory trees, as we said, it is consists of or can be divided to two zones. The first zone or the upper zone, it is called the conducting zone. Conducting, so the function of it, it is just it is a pathway. It is a pathway of gas toward the respiratory zone. So no exchange is happened there for the gas exchange, it's not there. So it is consists from trachea, right and left pulmonary or primary bronchi, or then the secondary and tertiary bronchioles will be divided to smaller branches, bronchioles, then the terminal bronchi. The respiratory zone, it is the respiratory bronchioles, this very fine small bronchioles, then the alveolar duct, that small, very fine small ducts that take or the air between the small respiratory bronchioles to the alveoli, then alveolar duct, the small alveolar duct, then the alveoli. So this is the respiratory zone, that the exchange of gas, it happens inside them and mainly in the alveoli. Yes. Okay. Just finishing. So again, this is in the line. This is the trachea, and we mentioned this is the diaphragm that separate the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. This area we call it the mediastina. The mediastina, it contains the heart and large blood vessels, which is in between the two lungs. So the lung occupy most of the thoracic cavity, as we said. The apex of the the apex of the lungs, it is upward, is near the clavicle, superior portion of it, and this is the base. The base is down. It is not like the heart. The heart, the apex is coming down, and the base is up. But the lung, the apex is up, and the base is down. So base rests on the diaphragm, which is the inferior portion of it. Each lung, we said that it is divided to loops, and we said that the right lung is divided to 3 loops, and the left lung is divided to 2 loops. So this is the division of the lungs, and this is the mediastina. So next session, inshallah, we will continue with the other form, and we will go to the structure and the function, inshallah. Thank you.